Have you ever wondered if you suck at Counter-Strike? My name is Braden and welcome to Valve Guides. The Counter-Strike series has provided some of the most challenging team and skill based as well as FPS titles in the world, and with that, a lot of people might suck at the game. This is directed towards beginners and newcomers to CSGO, and we will be going over bad habits that some might say cause you to suck at the game. My goal is to make you a respectable noob, unlike myself. So let's get started. You don't know your spray patterns. CSGO is not like other games. Your bullets do not go where your crosshair is if you're moving or spraying.
Oh my god.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Over one. Oh my god. Over one. That's.
Each rifle in CSGO has a unique recoil pattern, and if you're really going to plan to be good at the game, you need to try to learn these patterns by heart. Always be practicing your bullet spread and try to keep them as small and concise and accurate as possible. It could even be the difference between you being killed and killing your enemy, and it could even be the difference between you winning or losing an entire game. You're peeking corners the wrong way. Okay, even a lot of intermediate players don't really know how to peek corners the correct way. A great way to learn in a little more depth would be this video by Adrin, as shown on screen. Link will be in the description below, of course. Basically, you want to learn to snap your crosshair to the wall and walk around the corner, constantly keeping your crosshair aligned with where the enemy's head will be if they are around the corner, which is kind of hard to explain without showing, so hopefully you can understand what I mean by watching this video on screen. But rather than just side peeking and possibly having to move your mouse across the entire pad to get on target if you have a lower sensitivity like myself, I don't need to say that's a massive disadvantage, but it could be the difference between, again, you winning a firefight or an entire game. You're reloading at the worst times. Okay, we have all had to break this terrible habit, or some of us may not have already. Me. You shoot one bullet out of your AK and your eyes kind of trail towards the bottom of your screen and you see that 29 bullets are in your clip rather than that even 30. You want it to be full. It must be full. You hit R and bam, the enemy peeks you. You don't even have time to get a shot off and you die. And you ask yourself, was it really worth it? Was this all worth it? And trust me, it has happened to every CSGO player ever. No need to feel bad about it, but it is definitely a habit that you want to break, and it can lose you a game if you don't. Okay, you're looking in all the wrong places. If you're like me, you itch to peek that corner, and that itch will get you killed so often.
No time.
Dude, we have 4 seconds. Really? You're gonna throw it around like that?
And it has for me too. I'm not sure I want to read the comments if some of you in the comment section below have seen me do this, but okay. You're waiting to get the jump on somebody. You hear the enemy footsteps, maybe long doors on dust too, but they suddenly stop. Now you have to decide whether the enemy is walking or they retreated already, which both scenarios they probably started walking eventually, but you really want to expose yourself and check out the situation to get that intel. But many a time, not always, but for argument's sake, doing this will expose you to the enemy first. They will see you first and before you see them, and you just gave up the upper hand in that fight. Embrace the hate. Just learn to embrace the hate. You are really, really loud. Now for this one, I'm going to recommend that you go out and buy yourself a nice $500 gaming headset that says clear footstep fidelity on the box. I'm joking, of course, but while a good headset as opposed to a really crappy one will help you here, you should always be aware of the sound you're making in game. It's not always the sound that your enemies are making, but rather the sound you're making. Whenever you take a step, reload, or even plant the bomb, as a beginner to a competitive game like CSGO, you might just be focused on listening for the enemy's sounds, which then you totally forget the sounds that you're making. With every movement, practicing being aware of what sounds you are making and what your enemies might hear is very helpful, and act accordingly to that intel that you yourself have provided, because you never know, your opponent might just have that $500 gaming headset with clear footstep fidelity, or at least that's what the GameStop employee told me. Seems legit. If you're going to carry the bomb, act like you're carrying the bomb. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I used to be a silver. I mean, I still am, not... But when I was a silver, I had quite the tendency to forget that I was carrying the bomb. And as a result, I probably lost more games for my team than I would care to admit on this video. Embrace the hate, Brayden, embrace the hate. But if you're carrying the bomb, do not rush first, drop it in a dark corner and forget about it, plant it if you know the enemies are really close, or keep it if you're going to camp mid all freaking round. I did all of these things without realizing, and again, don't be me. Have a little bit of decency left in yourself. I learned my lesson when I pretended to be immune to all of these reasons you might suck in my horrifying Valve follower days. At least I hope I learned my lesson. Learn how to use grenades properly. In all seriousness, grenades are probably one of the most important things to master in CSGO. Learning different smokes and flashbangs are things that if you want to take the game seriously, you should do your absolute best to research and memorize. Just looking it up on YouTube is a great way to learn basic flashes and smokes and good positioning and tactics. By the way, if you have a lot of money, never forget to buy nades. If you have that extra cash and your team has a good economy, it should be second nature to buy them and put them to good use. Communicate. Having a mic is pretty much a necessity. In fact, no, it is a necessity. Have you ever hopped in a game of matchmaking to find 2 or 3 players on your team are using the freaking preset radio commands to communicate with you? This happened to me in my last game. Or they call out enemies in the text chat, like, oh yeah, let me casually read this call out in the bottom left of my screen in the tiny text while I'm in the middle of this immediate firefight. No, it just doesn't work. You have to have a mic. Everybody in your team should have a mic in CSGO, especially if you want to take the game seriously and you want to invest a little bit of money into a totally not crap mic. As long as it's not completely crappy, you're fine. The fastest and most efficient way to call an enemy out is to tell your buddy, hey, there's a guy waiting long for you. Imagine if you had to go an entire game without telling anybody where you were killed from or how many guys crossed to go to B. And I almost forgot, good luck coming up with a strategy with your team. Nobody's going to be constantly looking or typing in text chat. Just makes the entire game frustrating and arguably unplayable for some of us. Along the lines of communication, know who is leading your team and respect each other. I guess too many kids are coming over from playing COD maybe? I don't know, but whatever the reason, being toxic will never achieve anything good in a competitive game, and it will not contribute to a win whatsoever. The worst combo out there is probably a toxic player who is leading the team. It makes the entire team want to quit. Your team wants to stop putting effort into the game and you will probably lose. Respect and encouragement can go a long way, and I don't mean to sound cheesy, but it really does. If your teammate has really bad aim, there's nothing you can do about that to fix it in that game. Instead, adjust your play to work best with what you can do in each situation. This can keep you from raging hardcore and getting a week-long ban on your account. I'd say it's worth it. Play with people and watch people who are better than you. This is super important because when I first started playing CSGO, I never watched pro matches. In fact, I kind of thought it was dumb. I don't now, but I improved at the rate of that sloth from Zootopia when he tried to tell that joke or whatever. However, when I started to watch pro matches, I started to pick up on things without even realizing it. It is really strange, but sometimes you won't have anything in your head of what you have possibly learned in that game that you watched, but you'll hop into your next competitive match and just completely wreck face. Other times you will consciously notice things like what corners they hold, smokes they throw, and team tactics that you might have never thought of in the first place. It is really important to watch people who are far better than you. You don't practice. Some might say, practice in the video game? Really? And others might say, well, duh, of course you need to practice. However, if you want to be really good at anything at all, you have to practice. Unless you're just naturally amazing, which, well, lucky you. But for the rest of us, if you want to take the game seriously, practicing and warming up are vital habits that you need to start building immediately. Again, don't take example from me. If I had $1 for every time I thought about warming up before a game and lost because I chose not to, I wouldn't be rich, but I'd have a lot more $1 bills than I know what to do with. And at the end of the day, if you're gonna be consistently losing firefights, it might just be your fault because you're not practicing those spray patterns, or you're not practicing those entry nades, or just you need to practice. You don't have a team. Having friends you regularly play with is a great way to improve your strategic abilities and team communication. Unless you're like me and you don't have any friends. Just kidding, I have 2 last time I checked. But being able to play with people on a regular basis can not only be fun, but essential to becoming great at CSGO. Practice with each other, learn smoke entries and coordinated site clearings, and so much more. It will massively benefit you. You don't study the maps, and as a result, you don't know your callouts. Another must-know for playing CSGO is map callouts and just frankly knowing where things are. And it goes without saying that you need to know the map layout, study the maps that you most play, and learn the callouts. Learn the best angles to take, learn the fastest way to get from point A to B, and if you practice with your friends like I brought up a second ago, you can practice taking back sites and smoking off vulnerable areas to gain the upper hand in a situation that you might have otherwise lost. You're not using the right peripherals. I have another horror story to tell about my CSGO upbringings. I know, another one. I started playing CSGO on a Mac, and that's not even the worst part. I was using a Magic Mouse to play. Besides a trackpad and maybe one of those weird ones that have like the red ball that you move around. I don't even know what that's called, but possibly Magic Mouse is one of the worst things you could possibly play CSGO with. For starters, a wired mouse as of now is a must, but I'm keeping an eye on you, Corsair. Basically, to start playing CSGO, you don't want an alarmingly horrible headset, mouse, or keyboard, or mic for that matter. For people who are looking to get into CSGO more, you are going to want to invest a bit of money to have better quality products. Just don't use a Magic Mouse. I implore you. You're not finding your core playstyle, and you're not adapting to situations when you really need to. CSGO is a game of skill and adaptation. You cannot expect to be consistent if you don't have a core playstyle, and you cannot expect to pull off these epic clutches like 1v5 situations if you can't adapt to any situations. I've hinted towards this all video because it can sum up a lot of what I've been saying in a little neat bow, but knowing what kind of player you are is the basis on which you build your skill in Counter-Strike. Pro players know if they're a support player, a star player, or in-game leader. That all makes a big difference. Knowing the foundation and fundamentals of what role you play on your team is vital. What do you guys think? Do you suck at the game, and will this help you improve? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful or enjoyable, leave a like. If you thought it sucked, you can dislike it. That really hurts, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you around here again. My name is Brayden. You can follow me on Twitter. Check out my personal channel in the description below. I will see you guys later.